accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students, is now asking for his trial to be moved.
In this video, we delve into the intriguing case of Bryan Kohberger and the crime that forever changed his life, as well as those of the victims involved. Brace yourself for an exploration of Kohberger's haunting past, his childhood experiences, and how life took a tragic turn at the time of the crime. But it doesn't stop there. We also uncover crucial background information about the victims, shedding light on their lives before and after this harrowing incident. And finally, we examine the lasting impact of this crime, a tale filled with heartbreak, resilience, and lessons learned. So grab your detective hat as we dig deep into Bryan Kohberger's journey from innocence to infamy. This roller coaster ride is bound to keep you hooked till the very end. Childhood of Bryan Kohberger. As we delve into the life of Bryan Kohberger, it is important to understand the impact that his childhood had on shaping his future. Growing up in a small town, Bryan was surrounded by a close-knit community where everyone knew each other's business. While some might view this as comforting, for Bryan it created an atmosphere of constant scrutiny and judgment. From an early age, Bryan struggled with feelings of inadequacy and never quite fit in with his peers. He often felt like an outsider, observing from the sidelines while others effortlessly navigated social interactions. This sense of isolation fueled a deep-seated anger within him that would later manifest itself in tragic ways. Despite these challenges, there were glimpses of hope during Bryan's childhood. He had a natural curiosity and love for learning, which led him to excel academically. His teachers recognized his potential and encouraged him to pursue higher education. However, despite these positive influences, the weight of past experiences continued to haunt Bryan throughout his formative years. The trauma he endured left lasting scars on both his psyche and behavior patterns. In examining the childhood of Bryan Kohberger, we must remember that every person has a unique journey filled with triumphs and tribulations. Life at the time of the crime. Bryan Kohberger's life took a dark turn during the fateful period when he committed the crime. It was a time of turmoil and confusion, with multiple factors contributing to his actions. At this point in his life, Bryan was grappling with unresolved personal issues that had been building up over time. The pressures of everyday life seemed overwhelming for Bryan. He was facing financial difficulties, struggling to make ends meet. This constant stress weighed heavily on him, clouding his judgment and making him susceptible to making impulsive decisions. Moreover, Bryan's relationships were strained during this period. He experienced difficulties within his family and friendships, leaving him feeling isolated and disconnected from those around him. The lack of support exacerbated his already fragile mental state. Additionally, Bryan was battling internal demons that he hadn't yet confronted or found healthy ways to address them. His emotional well-being suffered greatly as it became increasingly difficult for him to navigate through these challenges alone. It is important to note that these circumstances do not excuse or justify Bryan's actions, but rather provide insight into the complex web of circumstances surrounding the crime. This snapshot into Bryan Kohberger's life at the time of the crime serves as a reminder that individuals can be driven to desperate measures under extraordinary pressures. Background information on the victims. The victims of Bryan Kohberger's crime were individuals whose lives were forever changed by his actions. Each victim had their unique background and story, which makes this tragedy all the more heartbreaking. Kaylee Goncalves, 21 years old. A senior from Rathdrum, Idaho, studying general studies at the College of Letters, Arts, and Social Sciences, and a proud member of the Alpha Phi sorority, Kaylee had a promising future tragically cut short. Madison Mogan, 21 years old. Hailing from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Madison was a marketing major and Pi Beta Phi sorority member with plans to move to Boise after graduation. Her vibrant life was sadly ended in Moscow. Ethan Chapin, 20 years old. A freshman from Washington State, majoring in recreation, sport, and tourism management at the University of Idaho. Ethan's promising journey was abruptly halted while staying at his girlfriend's house. Zana Kernodal, 20 years old. A marketing major and Pi Beta Phi sorority member from Avondale, Ariz. Zana showcased her talents in sports and had a vibrant personality. Her tragic end occurred in Moscow, leaving a void in the lives of those who knew her. These innocent individuals never deserved the pain they experienced at the hands of Bryan Kohberger. Their backgrounds are testaments to their resilience and strength in the face of adversity. We must remember that behind every crime are real people with real stories. Stories that should not be forgotten or overshadowed by the act itself. We must honor these victims by seeking justice for them, while also acknowledging their journeys leading up to this tragic event. The night of the crime. On 13th of November 2022, 4 University of Idaho students were brutally murdered by stabbing while they were likely asleep between 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. on the 2nd and 3rd floors of an off-campus 3-story rented house in the town of Moscow, Idaho. The 3 female victims lived at the house, while the 4th victim, Ethan Chapin, was Zana Kernodle's boyfriend who stayed at the house on the fateful night. There were 2 other female roommates also who lived at the house, but they slept through the attacks and were not attacked by the killer. At the time of the quadruple homicide, the 2 other roommates, Bethany Funke and Dylan Mortensen, were inside the home, but were left unharmed by the killer. The police report reveals that Ms. Mortensen came face to face with the masked killer. According to Mrs. Mortensen's terrifying account, she had gone to sleep in her bedroom on the 2nd floor of the 3-floor home and was woken by what sounded like Goncalves playing with her dog in one of the 3rd floor bedrooms. She told investigators she was in her bedroom on the 2nd floor of the home, the same floor where Kernodle and Chapin were killed, and was standing in the doorway as the killer walked right past her. A short time later, Ms. Mortensen said that she heard someone believed to be either Goncalves or Kernodle saying, "There's someone here." Minutes later, Ms. Mortensen said that she looked out of her bedroom for the first time but did not see anything. She then opened her door for a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Kernodle's room, the documents state. At that point, she said she heard a man's voice saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." When she opened her door for a 3rd time minutes later, she said she saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. As she stood in a frozen shock phase, she said the man, who she did not recognize, walked past her and headed toward the back sliding glass door of the home. She then locked herself in her room. After a close call, someone dialed 911 8 hours later at 11:58 a.m. On 30th of December 2022, Bryan Christopher Kohberger was arrested for being the main suspect behind the gruesome murder of 4 students in the University of Idaho from his parents' house in Chestnut Hill Township in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, around 2,500 miles away from the crime scene. The big question is whether the killer meant to harm all 4, or if some were just caught in the terrible attack. Goncalves and Mogan were in a bedroom on the 3rd floor, while Kernodle and Chapin were found on the 2nd floor. There's no info in the report about how Mr. Kohberger might be connected to the victims. He was a criminal justice PhD student at Washington State University, living 15 minutes away from the victims in Pullman, across the Idaho-Washington border. Join us next time as we continue to uncover the captivating stories that lie hidden within our world. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell to stay updated with our latest releases. Thank you for watching.